everyone. Welcome to today's Pet Pawcast. I'm your host, Dr. Roberta Westbrook, and you're here with us at the Campus for All Animals, the Houston SPCA. Thank you once again for joining us. So if you're anything like me, you might be appreciating that temperatures here in Texas and Houston have cooled down a bit. It's fall and we're starting to feel that fall weather. And part of that means we might be more willing to go out for walks with our dog for many reasons. The weather is beautiful and there's so many benefits to walking. So we're going to just give you some tips about how to walk with your pet, maybe even walk with your cat, and talk to you about walking in this time of year and ways to keep you and your pet safe. So if you have any questions about starting a new walking and exercise plan with your pet, think about those, put them in the chat, and hopefully I can help you. In the meantime, I do want to introduce you to our Pet of the Week this week. Our Pet of the Week is Suki. Is a beautiful 2-year-old spayed female. She's a shepherd mix, and she came to us through our cruelty and investigations department. And so, Suki did not have a wonderful background, but she is with us. She's here with us. She's gotten lots of care and lots of attention, and she's ready to find her new family. So please come on down to our adoption center. She's very lovable, sweet. She would make a wonderful family pet. So come meet Suki and all of our other pets that we have available for adoption. We are open every day from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. There's no appointment necessary. You can just make fun of it, make a day of it, bring your family and friends, come on out and see us. We'll be happy to help you. So let's talk about starting a new walking plan with you and your dog, or maybe even your cat. So, oftentimes when we're starting a new exercise plan, it can be intimidating if you don't do it regularly. And you're wondering, how much should I do at any given time? So I would say if you and or your pet are not used to exercising on a routine basis and on a regular basis, just start slow. Just start slow. Maybe go on 10 or 15-minute walks twice a day. And then you can increase the frequency and the duration of those walks as you get more used to it. What we don't want necessarily is for you to be what we call a weekend warrior, where on the weekends you decide to go 2, 3, 5 miles and you're not used to it, and your pet's not used to it. It can be a little overwhelming. So just start slow. We want to get you out there. We want to get safe. This can be such a great way to get your pet to exercise and lose weight. So there's lots of benefits there.
All right. So usually we have a backyard. We think of, okay, we're going to let just the dog run in the backyard. Is that good enough, or what are the benefits for doing actual walks, even if we have a backyard?
Yes, great question. So the benefits of doing the actual walk instead of just letting your dog out in the backyard, even if you have more than one dog, you might think, I'll let them all outdoors. They'll run around with each other. They will play with each other, and that should be enough exercise. And those are good to do intermittently, but it's actually better to get your pets out on an actual walk with a leash for several reasons. Number one, putting them in the backyard can be exciting for a short period of time, but eventually they get really bored with that. And they're going to start to look for other ways to entertain themselves. And that could mean digging in your garden. That could mean digging a hole underneath your fence, trying to escape. And we don't want those things to happen. So we want to keep their minds engaged at all times. Now, if you're out there and you have a directed game that you can play with them, like fetching a ball or something like that, that might be more appropriate. So they get interaction with you, they're focused on you, and they're not left up to making their own decisions about what to do with their time. Now, benefits of a walk. We've already talked about exercise. Another benefit of the walk is enrichment. Going on walks is very enriching for the mind of dogs. So what they love to do is they love to sniff around, getting those sights, smells, sounds. It's very enriching for them, and that can actually give them exercise for their brain. It helps keep them sharp, and it can even tire them out. So if you're trying to use exercise as not only a plan to help you and your pet get in shape, it can also help to kind of tire them out and reduce that level of hyperactivity and anxiety that your pets might have, and getting that extra energy out. It's also very healthy for the joints. I mentioned weight loss. keeping those joints moving, keeping that exercise can increase the longevity of your pet's life. So many benefits to getting out there and actually walking. If you're going to use the backyard, do it intermittently and stay engaged with them.
So for walks, and you mentioned, having them time to like stop and actually smell the roses. For us, we just want to hurry up and go. So we should let them, instead of just being on a rushed walk.
Great question. Yes, you might be on a mission. Maybe you're just trying to, count those miles, but you want this to be enjoyable for your dog. You want it to be enriching for them. And certainly some dogs are right there with you, just running and letting themselves, get that energy out. But stopping to smell the flowers and the roses and enjoy that is also very stimulating for them. So if you're noticing, if you're going on a slow, short walk, you're noticing that your dog is stopping to sniff, let them do it. Just take your time, give them that moment to engage, to sniff the grass, sniff the bushes. They're taking in all the information from the environment. They're seeing what dogs were there before, and they're taking in that information. It's exciting for them. So let them go ahead and do that. And then you can also set out time for the slow walks where they can, smell the grass, but you can also set time where maybe you go on a trail. Maybe if you're a hiker, you like to take your dog hiking, you can set aside a separate time where, hey, you're on a mission, we're going to cover some miles here, and oftentimes your dog will know the difference.
And the main reason a lot of people kind of don't want to do dog walking is their dog isn't like trained, or how do I stop my dog from pulling, basically, or
Yes, absolutely. When you're going on a walk with your dog, you want it to be pleasant, and you don't want it to be a battle between getting your dog to walk next to you and keeping them away from other pets. So how do you get your dog to have good leash manners? It does take some time. So please, step number one is be patient. But what you want to do is, there's lots of videos online, and so there's lots of information out there, more than I'm going to be able to provide for you now. But what you want to do is make sure that when you're teaching your dog how to walk on a leash, a couple of tips. Always make sure that when you're using a leash, that you have a leash that is the appropriate length. So you don't want a leash that's too short. Leashes that are too short when your dog is too close to your body, it makes them uncomfortable, and oftentimes they're trying to pull away because they may be trying to sniff their environment. So you don't want a leash that's less than 3 feet. You also want the leash to be between about 3 and 6 feet. So you don't want a leash that's too long. Oftentimes, if it's too long, you have a more difficult time controlling them. They're kind of running off. They may be trying to pull you. So between 3 and 6 feet is probably appropriate. You also want to make sure that you have a collar or a harness to put on them. If you feel like your dog is going to be pulling, it may be good to invest in a no-pull harness. Those harnesses are ones that have a hook for the leash in the front of the chest. What that does is when your pet begins to pull and you kind of tug on the leash, that leash is going to come off to the side, and your dog is going to want to face you. It's going to redirect their attention back to you. So using a no-pull harness where the leash connection is on the front can be something that you can try. A gentle leader, which is a harness for the head, that can also be really beneficial to help stop your dog from pulling, because as they pull, once again, the leash is connected to a portion that goes around their muzzle, and whenever they pull, that leash redirects their attention back to you. You can get their attention again, you can give them a treat, and after a period of time, they will learn to focus on you on the walks, to walk next to you. So having those leash manners is going to take some time for you to get used to, but it's really good bonding, and it's going to, in the long run, make your walks much more exciting.
And is there a difference between using a retractable leash versus like a regular sleep leash?
Absolutely. So, this is a regular leash where it just has a handle for your hand. You may be familiar with retractable leashes, which are leashes that allow your dog to run in any direction but forward for a certain period, certain length of that leash. The problem with retractable leashes is the retractable leash provides less control over your dog. It's essentially a really small string that's under some tension. But for dogs that are very strong and very driven and really want to pull, that can snap. And oftentimes does not hold them if you have a really large dog that might be really driven. So one, it's less safe. But two, when you see your dog taking off, the retractable leash is going to pull out. You may want to stop your dog from whatever target he or she has. So what you do is you might press the button on your retractable leash, which stops them. The problem is that can be really dangerous if that leash is attached to a collar. Well, now they're running at full speed. You press the button on the retractable leash, which jerks them backwards. And it can be a very negative experience, and it can even do damage to the trachea. So we don't advocate for retractable leashes in most cases unless you have a pet that's really good on that leash and already knows how to walk next to you. It can be dangerous if you snap them back too quickly. It can cause danger. In the same way, even a regular leash, try not to pull your pet back in a strong way. If they have a collar on, it could do damage to their trachea. You may want to get, again, a no-pull harness for those.
All right, now cats, do they need to go on walks? Do they need it as much as dogs?
Cats are unique, and you don't have to take your cat for a walk, but it might be a fun thing to try to see if it's an experience that your cat will enjoy and that you will enjoy. So it's certainly possible to teach your cat how to walk on a leash. Cats can oftentimes get enough exercise indoors by climbing cat towers, chasing pin lights, playing with housemates. But if you're interested in teaching your cat how to walk on a leash, it's very similar to teaching dogs. You want to start by getting an appropriately fitting harness and a leash. And you also want to start by putting the harness on your cat indoors and not snapping it tightly. So you might want to just put the harness on, let your cat get used to the harness, give them treats when they have the harness on, and hopefully they'll get used to it after days of doing this. Then eventually after a few days, you're going to begin to snap the harness. So now it's on your cat's body in the position that they would normally wear it in, and let them walk around the house with the harness on. Then you can begin to add the leash. Add the leash, connect the leash to the harness, let them run around the house with the leash on, let them get used to the tension that they may have on the leash. Give them treats whenever you're doing this as well, so that they associate this experience with a good thing like treats and attention. And then finally, you can begin to walk your cat indoors. So start to hold on to the opposite end of the leash, follow your cat around the house, and see if you can gently, with treats, entice your cat to follow you around the house. Eventually, you can move this outdoors. So it may take a few weeks, but it's certainly possible. If you notice that your cat is not being responsive, and it's not seeming like it's a fun thing for them, you can always back off, decide maybe this isn't for your cat, or go to the next step or the previous step that worked well for them, where they were not nervous about it, and start again from there. But it's absolutely possible to teach your cat to walk on a leash.
All right, if my pet is geriatric and probably can't walk much, how else can I still provide the benefits of dog, them being outside and smelling that?
Yes, absolutely. Again, you may not want to go on very long walks if you have a dog that has arthritis or is older and maybe cannot walk for long periods of time, but just sitting outside on the porch with your dog, taking very short walks, even 5 or 10 minutes to the end of the street and back, can still be very enriching. If that becomes too much, they do make strollers for your pet. So you can also take your pet out in a stroller, and that can be very exciting, and it can be enriching for them too, because they'll still be able to see things in their environment, new things, they'll be able to experience the smells, and it's a way that you guys can both enjoy the outdoors without maybe upsetting your health conditions that you're dealing with.
And how do I know if it's time to end or walk around? Like, what are those signs? Because I know for us, tongue out means, excited, but it can also mean exhaustion.
Right. So absolutely. How do you know when it's time to end the walk? If the walk has been long or the weather has been very hot, you're noticing that your pet is seeming to slow down, become lethargic, maybe you're starting to have to pull them, make sure that you take a break, give them a moment to recover, and then it might be time to head on home if you notice that they're getting tired, lethargic, and not wanting to keep up with you. Another thing that you may want to do is, if you're going on a long walk, always take a bowl, a collapsible bowl, and some water. And that way, if you notice that your pet is getting a little bit tired, you may be able to stop and give them a break and offer them some water that might revitalize them. So not only taking water and looking out for them to be tired. But again, if your pet is new to this, you want to start slow anyway from the beginning so that they can gradually work up to those longer distances.
All right, and then how can I walk my dog if they're reactive to other dogs or other people? Is it still safe?
Right, this is a great question. If you know that your dog tends to be reactive to other dogs while on a leash, let's say you're going on a walk and you're noticing that as they pass other dogs or they see other pets, that they're becoming somewhat aggressive or reactive. Again, this goes back to leash training. What you want to do when you're leash training your dog is make sure that you can always get their attention. You want your dog to want to focus on you, to want to give you their attention. And so practicing walking your dog on a leash and then turning around and going the other way so that your dog says, oh, I have to follow my mom or my dad. I got to turn the other way. And then when they start to follow you and walk on the leash, turn again. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to get your dog to understand that you make the decisions about where to go. You make the decisions about where you're going to lead them, and they need to follow you and focus on you. Whenever your dog does what you want him to do, you can feed a treat. So being the reward, you want the focus on you to be the reward and to offer a treat whenever you notice that your pet is giving you that attention. That way, when they see another pet and they're likely to get reactive, whatever clue or cue that you have given them to focus on you, you want to activate that right then. If you see that they are, seeing another dog and they're going to be tempted to go after that dog, turn the other way. If your dog follows you, give your dog a treat. Let them know that that was the good thing, that they focused on you, they followed you, and they did not keep their focus on the other dog. So what you want to do is redirect their attention and make it a reward for them to focus on you rather than focusing on another object.
And is it safe for them to have like a cover on their nose, on their mouth while walking, just to be on the safe side?
Sure. You may have seen dogs going on walks with muzzles on. And the type of muzzle that we're talking about here is what's called a basket muzzle. A basket muzzle is one that looks very similar to a basket. It has lots of ventilation. It's not tight. It does not hold their mouth closed. It allows them to open their mouth, but it does prevent them from biting or having an accidental bite to another person or another animal. And so that is an option if your pet has a history of biting or being reactive and you're nervous that maybe they could bite. A basket muzzle is a great way to still enjoy the outdoors, still allow your pet to breathe freely, and then practice those safety tips. So absolutely a basket muzzle is a good idea.
All right, and then since it's gonna start getting darker much earlier nowadays, what are some tips for evening walks?
Yeah, great question. It's going to start getting darker and you may want to take some evening walks. Certainly it's cooler and it might be a great time to take some walks, but you want to make sure that you have some safety equipment there. You may want to consider taking a light. You can get some wonderful leash sets like we have here, where this is a really handy leash that you connect the carabiner to your dog's collar or harness. And then there's to your dog's leash, and then there are some really cool attachments here. So here's a flashlight that you can attach to the end of the handle here, so that when you're walking at night, you can have a flashlight. And then here is a little bag to carry your poop bags in. So you can buy some really cool units here that allow you to be safe at night. So if you don't want to carry a flashlight on your leash, you can also carry a headlamp. You can wear a headlamp. That way you have your hands free and available, but a headlamp still allows you to see your surroundings. And then you also want to make sure that your pet has something reflective as well. So you can buy reflective collars, harnesses, leashes, even vests for your pet to wear. So something reflective so that if it's nighttime and there's cars passing, that they can see you and your pet. Feel free for you to wear something reflective as well. We want cars to be able to see you, cyclists to be able to see you, and that way you can stay safe. So we thank you so much for everything. Thank you for joining us. Listen, we have an exciting opportunity for you. Coming up in January is going to be the Chevron Houston Marathon. And we invite you to join the Houston SPCA as part of our 100-member team. 2024 is the anniversary of the Houston SPCA's creation. We're going to be 100 years old in 2024, and to celebrate, we would like to have 100 team members go to the Houston Marathon with us in January and help us to run or walk with purpose for a cause. So if you like to get out and walk, speaking of walking, you like to get out there and walk and run, please join us. Please go to houstonspca.org. Look for the link to join our 100 member team for the Chevron Houston Marathon and be part of running or walking for a purpose with us. We'd love to have you as being part of our extended family. So thank you once again for joining us. We appreciate you coming out every week with us at the Houston SPCA, and we will see you next week. Have fun on your walks.